Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this little bit of Aramaic on a Sunday morning. I hope you're enjoying as we go through the Lord's Prayer and examine pretty much word by word in the Aramaic as we continue. You'll see on your screen we're in Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. And as we've been following um, in Aramaic, the Aramaic as it's read, as we understand it anyway, would be Avun Devashmaya, which would be our Father. And we went through the identification of where he's found, what heaven means last time. And now we go into the last part of this verse, which is translated, Hallowed be thy name. In the Aramaic would be Nate Kadash Shemach. So put together, this would sound something like this. Avun Devashmaya Nate Kadash Shemach. Now, those of you who are maybe a little bit more into the language would notice that in the Estrangola script up here, that here is the word for Shemach. You'll see this Kaf Sofit here, but when you look at the Ashuri script or the block script used commonly in Hebrew, they do not have the Kaf Sofit. They just have a regular Kaf. So I think that's a misprint in the translation there. So just want to make you aware of that. That's noticeable. As I'm, preparing for the study and praying that God would lead me and guide me, early this morning, I had a little bit of a remez or a little bit of a pricking of insight that I wanted to share with you. And I felt that there is a parallelism here between the Lord's Prayer and the Ten Commandments. And I feel it shows up, at least in what we've gone through so far. We'll have to see if it continues as we continue with the Lord's Prayer. But thinking about this, Avun Devashmaya, our Father, which is in heaven, notice that this is our Father. It's not your Father or my Father. The idea in a Middle Eastern mindset is that people are a collection. We are a body together. We are not individualistic, as what's very commonly um, part of Western culture. But Middle Eastern culture is more collective. It's more of a family that you belong to. It's your tribe. It's your group that you belong to. And so Jesus uses the word avun, our Father, and then devashmaya, again, to me, parallels very similarly, and we'll just take a look at how the Ten Commandments go, that I am the Lord thy God. He says, has brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me, not make any graven image. And then it uses the term in heaven above or in earth beneath. And it talks about being a jealous God, which is what a father figure would have upon his children, calling them his children, showing mercy. And so, at least to me, I see some parallelism here between the first commandment explaining who the Lord is and um, his relationship with them over heaven and earth, and seeing that paralleled here in the Avun Devashmaya, our Father who rules the heavens, made the heavens, completely in charge. There is no one else. I feel that that's encompassed into that. So I'm not sure if you see that or not. I hope you get some comments that you can share with me, whether you agree or disagree. And then we go to the next part of Nikadash Shemach, or hallowed be thy name. I feel this ties into the next commandment here where it says, you shall not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. And so let's unpack the Aramaic and see what you think here. So going to our Analyze button here, we open it up. And we see that this word for Shemach or excuse me, Kadosh of Shemach means to sanctify. And of course, the last one means name. What's interesting here is when we look at the tense of this verb, we see it's in an imperfect state and it's in an FPL. So looking at what um, that means, the FPL is something that shows intensiveness. but it also can show reflexiveness. So as we think about, um, hallowed be thy name, who is doing the hallowing, and what does it mean to be hallowed? Is it something that God is doing, or is it something that we are doing, or is it something that's both? And here, the word in its original meaning gives the opportunity that it can be both. Something reflexive is what is done to oneself, to the speaker. So this is something that God can hallow his name, but it's also something that those around and those being spoken to would also reply in such a way or respond in such a way and hallow that. Notice that it's in an intensive form rather than a passive form. It just puts a little bit more depth of meaning to this word in its you know what's the word I'm looking for? In the need that it has to be done, that there's more emphasis upon is the word I'm looking. The other thing that's noticed, it's in an imperfect form, which means that it's yet to be completed. And so that really caused me to ponder saying, okay, this hasn't occurred yet. I mean, if we look through our society, can we ever say that God's name has been hallowed? Is it occurring in our society today? Is it occurring, or is it something that is yet to come? Because obviously there's a lot of things going on that are not hallowing the name of the Lord. And what does it mean to for even to be hallowed? So we're going to take a look again at the breakdown of this word of kadosh and see what we get here. What's interesting here is uh, the word kadosh comes from the word of being set apart. Again, unfortunately, religiosity has gotten into our mind, and many of those concepts that have been created before we were ever involved and through the centuries created a religious framework that hinders us, I guess, in finding the root word of, we're looking for what did the people on the hillside hear? What did they understand? What did the disciples understand? And it talks about being set apart and mainly to be dedicated. It uses the word betrothed. I really like that. It's also in the same type of conjugation of the D form, which is the more intensive form, but something that's betrothed is promised, but it's also dedicated, which means it would have no other purpose. It would not be used for anything else. And I think that hints a lot to me to the meaning of what is being said here, because even the word shame used for name is not so much um, just the identification of what someone is called, like, your name and my name, but it goes deeper. It goes back to their reputation. It goes back to what they stand for, what their identity is, that what encompasses them as far as their nature. And so when we think of in those terms of the word Nikadash Shemach, that we are to set apart the whole idea of who God is, that he is not to be mixed up with other things. He's not to be blended in to any of our traditions or to any of our thoughts that are not directly created to honor and magnify him. And that's where I see this fitting together with not taking the name of the Lord in vain, and meaning that you would not use his reputation, his identity, his attributes for anything personal that would cause personal gain to you. And we've always heard it saying, you don't swear, would be taking the name of the Lord in vain. I don't think that even scratches the surface of really what this is meant to portray. What I get from this unpacking is that I should be not be using God's name to benefit myself in any way materialistically, any way that would build me up and not give glory and honor to God. I shouldn't be using it to bring um, fame and gain, retribution to me. I shouldn't be using it in a way that takes away from his holiness, from his separation, in a way that brings him down to my level. I should always be trying to ascend to what he wants me to be, more on his level. And so it bothers me in our society to see the name of God being used to promote people, to promote systems, to promote ideologies that give you a rough assimilation, maybe, or a rough idea that they think they're following the scriptures, but in fact, it underlying is just to promote themselves. And to me, I think that ties together. And it makes me always wary when I see someone using the name of the Lord in a way that's benefiting them. And I'm thinking, this is not what God intended. This is not following the word of God as he outlines it. And so this Nikadash Shamak of using God's name in a very hallowed, set apart way, only for his purposes, only for what his kingdom is intended to bring forth. And so I hope you enjoyed maybe a little different view of the Avun Devashmaya Nikadash Shamak. And so again, very precious. I see it following the Ten Commandments, at least in a somewhat of a parallel for here. And I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you join us next week as we go into verse 10 and see what it has to share with us. So God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. And may God just have his blessings upon you as you continue to give yourself to drawing near to him and to studying his word together. Bye-bye.